I saw her first. She's mine.
It's my decision to make.
4 words that turned a 20-year brotherhood into a bloody war. Liam and Yi Min were the kings of Seoul. One ruled the daylight, the other ruled the shadows. They shared everything: power, money, influence, until Jessica walked into the room. She thought she was choosing between a charming, safe CEO and a terrifying, tattooed mafia boss. She followed her heart into the darkness, believing the dragon would protect her. But she was wrong. Not because he didn't love her, but because she never realized that the real monster wasn't the man with the criminal record. It was the best friend smiling in her face the whole time. Hang on tight, let's dive in. The auction paddle sat untouched on the mahogany table between them, a forgotten piece of plastic in a room worth billions. To anyone watching, they were the kings of the city, untouchable deities carved from money and influence. Liam, with his golden hair, toothpaste commercial smile, and a bespoke navy suit that cost more than most people's annual salaries, looked like the sun, bright, charming, and impossible to ignore. He radiated a warmth that drew people in, a gravitational pull that promised fun, excess, and the kind of life people only saw in movies. Beside him sat Yi Min, the shadow to his light. Yi Min wore black, always black. His suit was cut sharper, fitting his broad shoulders with a military precision that hinted at discipline rather than vanity. He didn't smile. He didn't wave to the other CEOs in the room or acknowledge the whispers that followed him like smoke. He sat in silence, nursing a glass of whiskey that he had been holding for 20 minutes without sipping, radiating a cold, lethal stillness that made the air around him feel 5 degrees colder. They were best friends, brothers not by blood but by power. They had risen together from the ashes of a difficult past that neither of them spoke about in polite society. Liam owned the daylight, the tech firms, the PR agencies, the smiling face of Seoul's elite. Yi Min owned the night, the shipping lanes, the logistics, the dark warehouses on the docks, and the things people whispered about but never confirmed. They were a perfect balance, the yin and yang of the city's economy. The auctioneer was droning on about a 17th century vase, his voice a rhythmic hum that usually lulled the rich into parting with their fortunes, but Liam was visibly bored. He leaned back in his velvet chair, checking his platinum watch for the 3rd time in a minute. "This is a waste of time," Liam muttered, swirling his champagne until it threatened to spill over the rim. "We should be at the club. The new hostesses arrived today, and I promised the owner we'd stop by. This dusty pottery isn't going to keep me warm at night." Yi Min didn't answer. He rarely did unless it was necessary. He just took a slow, deliberate sip of his drink, his eyes scanning the room not for art, but for threats. He watched the exits. He watched the hands of the waiters. He watched the room with the detached boredom of a predator with a full belly, waiting for something to run. Then the double doors at the back of the hall opened. The heavy thud of the doors hitting the stoppers echoed slightly, but it was the shift in the air that caught Yi Min's attention. It wasn't a loud entrance. There were no trumpets, no announcements, no flurry of paparazzi flashes. But suddenly, the hushed conversation at the VIP table stopped dead. A woman walked in. She wasn't wearing a ball gown like the other women, who were draped in tulle and diamonds, desperate for attention. She was wearing a sharp, tailored cream suit that hugged her curves in a way that was both strictly professional and devastatingly sexy. The fabric moved with her like liquid, accentuating a waist that begged to be held and hips that swayed with a natural, unforced rhythm. Her dark skin glowed under the crystal chandeliers, luminous and rich, and her hair was pulled back into a sleek, severe bun that highlighted the elegant, vulnerable curve of her neck. She held a tablet against her chest like a shield, scanning the room with intelligent, focused eyes that dismissed the billionaires and celebrities as mere background noise. Liam stopped mid-sentence. His champagne glass hovered halfway to his mouth, forgotten. He leaned forward, his blue eyes widening, a slow, hungry grin spreading across his face. It was the look of a collector seeing a rare specimen. "Well, hello," he whispered, his voice dropping to a purr. He looked at her like she was the only item in the auction worth bidding on. "Who is that?" Yi Min didn't speak. He set his whiskey glass down on the table with a soft, deliberate clink. He didn't lean forward. He didn't smile. He went completely still. His dark eyes locked onto her, tracking her movement across the room with a terrifying intensity. He watched the way her hips swayed beneath the fabric of her skirt. He watched the way she paused to check something on her tablet, her brow furrowing in concentration. He watched the way she tucked a stray hair behind her ear, a small, human gesture in a room full of plastic statues. He watched her like a man who had been holding his breath for a lifetime and had finally found oxygen. Liam nudged him, his elbow sharp against Yi Min's ribs. "Yi, Earth to Yi Min, I asked who she is." Yi Min didn't break his gaze. He couldn't. It felt as if an invisible tether had snapped into place between him and the stranger across the room. "I don't know," he said, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through the table, startlingly deep. "But I'm going to find out." Liam laughed, a bright sound that grated on Yi Min's nerves for the first time in years. He stood up, buttoning his jacket, smoothing his lapels, turning on the high-wattage charm that had won him magazine covers and hostile takeovers alike. "Not if I get there first," Liam said, flashing a grin that was all teeth and ambition. "I saw her first, brother. Finders keepers." Yi Min stayed seated. He watched his best friend approach her. He saw Liam flash that $1,000,000 smile, the one that usually made women melt into puddles. He saw the woman stop, looking up at Liam with a polite, professional nod that didn't quite reach her eyes. She wasn't impressed. Yi Min stood up. As he moved, his movements fluid and silent, his collar shifted slightly. Just for a second, a hint of black ink peeked out from the starch-white shirt, the tail of a dragon that started at his hands and ended at his throat, a permanent reminder of the violence he kept leashed beneath the silk. He walked toward them, silent and inevitable as the tide. The war hadn't started with a gunshot. It started with a stare. Jessica adjusted her grip on the tablet, trying to ignore the sudden influx of testosterone invading her personal space. She was here to work. As the city's top art curator, she had been hired by the auction house to verify the provenance of the Ming vase being auctioned later in the evening. There had been rumors of a forgery ring, and her reputation was the only thing standing between a billionaire and a $10 million mistake. She wasn't here to be ogled. But then the man in the navy suit was there, blocking her path with the confidence of a man who had never been told to move. "Hi," he said, his voice dripping with practiced charm, sweet and cloying like overripe fruit. "I don't think we've met. I'm Liam." Jessica offered a polite, tight smile, the kind she reserved for donors and board members. "I know who you are, Mr. Sterling. You own half the building." Liam laughed, stepping a little too close. "Invading the socially acceptable distance for strangers, just the top half. The view is better up there. And you are." "Jessica, I'm the curator." "Jessica," Liam repeated, tasting the name, rolling it around his mouth as if testing its flavor. "You know, I have quite an art collection myself. Maybe you could come by and appraise it. Private consultation. I pay very well for expertise." It was a line, a bad one, transparent and arrogant. Jessica was about to politely decline and move past him when a shadow fell over them. The air temperature seemed to drop, the chatter of the room fatting into a dull buzz. She looked past Liam's shoulder, and her breath hitched in her throat. Another man had joined them. He was taller than Liam, broader in the shoulders, dressed in a black suit that looked like it had been cut from the night sky. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't trying to charm her. He was looking at her with dark, hooded eyes that felt like they were stripping away her defenses layer by layer, seeing the exhaustion she hid behind her makeup, seeing the intelligence she hid behind her silence. He was dangerously handsome, with sharp cheekbones and a jawline that could cut glass, but it was his stillness that unnerved her. "And who is this?" Jessica asked, her voice coming out a little breathless, betraying her. Liam's smile tightened for a fraction of a second, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face before it bounced back to the easy grin. "This is Yi Min, my business partner. Don't mind him, Jess. Can I call you Jess? He's not much for conversation. He's practically a statue." Yi Min didn't look at Liam. He ignored him as if he were a buzzing fly. He looked only at her. He extended a hand. The movement was slow, deliberate. As his arm extended, his cuff rose, and Jessica saw it, intricate black tattoos covering the back of his hand, swirling patterns of smoke and scales that disappeared under his sleeve. It was a stark, violent contrast to the refined Italian suit. It whispered of a life lived in the dark, of rules broken and blood spilled. Jessica placed her hand in his. His skin was warm, his grip firm but surprisingly gentle, careful, as if he knew his own strength and was holding it back. "Yi Min," he said simply. His voice was deep, rougher than Liam's smooth baritone. It sounded like gravel and velvet, a voice meant for midnight confessions. "Jessica," she replied, unable to pull her hand away. The contact sent a jolt of electricity up her arm that settled low in her stomach. "I have an acquisition I need advice on," Yi Min said, ignoring Liam completely. "A painting. I need an expert eye, not a social visit." The jab at Liam was subtle, but it landed. Liam's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing slightly. "I'm fully booked this month," Jessica said, trying to regain her professional composure, trying to pull her hand back, but finding herself lingering. "I'll wait," Yi Min said. The intensity of his gaze was overwhelming. It wasn't just interest, it was focus. Absolute, unwavering focus. Jessica finally pulled her hand back, her skin tingling where he had touched her. "Send my office the details," she managed to say, clutching her tablet tighter. "Now, if you gentlemen will excuse me, I have a vase to authenticate." She walked away, forcing herself not to run. She could feel two pairs of eyes burning holes into her back. One pair felt like a spotlight, bright, demanding, hungry for attention. The other felt like a laser, focused, possessive, dangerous. Later that night, Jessica sat in her apartment, a glass of red wine in her hand, recounting the story to her best friend, Tia. The city lights twinkled outside her window, a stark contrast to the confusion in her mind. "Two of them," Tia asked, eyebrows raised, putting down her chopsticks. "The princes of Seoul. Jessica, do you know how many women would kill to be sandwiched between that? You hit the jackpot." "It wasn't like that," Jessica sighed, curling her legs up on the sofa. "Liam was a lot. He sent flowers to my office an hour after I left the auction. Huge red roses, like 500 of them. My receptionist can barely see over her desk. It was embarrassing." "Classic CEO behavior," Tia laughed. "He's marking his territory. And the other one, the dark one, the shadow." Jessica paused, staring into the depths of her wine. "He didn't send anything. He just looked at me. Tia, he has these eyes, and this tattoo peeking out of his collar. He looks terrifying, like he could kill someone without blinking. But when he shook my hand, I felt safe. Is that crazy?" Tia stopped laughing. She leaned forward, her expression serious. "That's not crazy, Jess. That's instinct. But be careful. Liam is the safe bet. He's a public figure. If he breaks your heart, you get a settlement and a tell-all book. If a man like Yi Min breaks your heart, I don't think you recover from that. He plays for keeps." The pursuit began the next day, and it was a study in contrasts that left Jessica dizzy. Liam was a hurricane. He flooded her life with noise and color. He sent bags from designers she couldn't pronounce, shoes that cost more than her rent. He invited her to charity galas, to yacht parties, to dinners at restaurants that had 6-month waiting lists. He called her baby and sweetheart and princess before they had even gone on a first date. He showed up at her office unannounced, flashing his smile, charming her staff, trying to bulldoze his way into her schedule with the force of his personality. It was flattering at first. Who wouldn't want to be courted by the city's golden boy? But beneath the charm, Jessica felt a current of something rigid. When she said she was busy, Liam would pout, then cajole, then insist. He didn't like the word no. He treated her refusal like a negotiation he intended to win, a merger he was determined to close. Yi Min was the silence in the storm. He didn't send flowers. He didn't show up uninvited. He simply sent a single, encrypted email to her secretary requesting a consultation time. When she arrived at his office, a minimalist fortress of glass and steel overlooking the Han River, stark and cold, he was waiting. He didn't try to charm her. He stood by the window, looking out at the gray water, and turned only when she entered. He showed her the painting, a rare, brooding piece from the 19th century depicting a storm at sea. He asked for her opinion, and then he listened. He actually listened. He watched her face while she spoke about brushstrokes and composition and light, his dark eyes absorbing every word as if she were revealing the secrets of the universe. He bought her coffee, black, no sugar, exactly how she liked it, though she had never told him. He had noticed. He walked her to her car in the underground garage. He opened the door for her. He didn't try to touch her. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, the wind from the ventilation fans ruffling his dark hair, looking at her with that terrifying, quiet hunger. "You're tired," he observed one evening, after a late consultation that had turned into a 3-hour conversation about history and loss. "I'm fine," Jessica lied, stifling a yawn. "Liam is keeping you out late," he stated. It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. "He likes parties," she shrugged, leaning against her car door. "He wants to show me off." "Do you like being shown off?" Jessica paused. She looked at Yi Min at the stillness of him. "No, I hate them. I feel like a doll. I'd rather be home with a book." Yi Min nodded, as if filing this information away in a vault. "Then go home, Jessica. Don't let him drag you where you don't want to go. You are not a trophy." He closed her car door, and as she drove away, Jessica realized she was breathing easier than she had all week. She realized that while Liam made her feel wanted, Yi Min made her feel seen. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Liam had invited her to a private dinner to celebrate a merger between his tech firm and a smaller rival. When she arrived at the restaurant, expecting a party, she found the entire place empty. He had bought out the venue. It was romantic, grand, and suffocating. A string quartet played in the corner. The table was laden with food she hadn't ordered. Throughout the meal, Liam drank heavily. His charm began to slip, revealing the arrogance beneath. He kept reaching for her hand across the table, his grip a little too tight, his thumb rubbing her knuckles in a way that felt possessive rather than affectionate. "Come on, Jess," he slurped, pouring more wine into her glass despite her protests. "Stop playing hard to get. It's boring, I know you feel it. We look good together. Think about the power couple we'd make. My face, your brains, and that body." He looked her up and down, his eyes lingering on her chest. It made her skin crawl. Jessica pulled her hand away, the movement sharp. "Liam, I think you've had enough. I should go. This was a mistake." She stood up, grabbing her purse. Liam stood up too, faster than she expected. He knocked his chair over. He grabbed her wrist. "Sit down," he snapped. The charm was gone, replaced by a flash of petulant, ugly anger. "I'm not finished talking to you. I paid for this dinner. I bought out this restaurant. You owe me your time." "Liam, let go," Jessica said, her voice dropping, warning bells ringing in her head. "You're always so cold," he sneered, pulling her closer, invading her space. "Is it because of him? Is it Yi Min? That tattooed thug? You think he's better than me? He's a criminal in a suit, Jessica. He's damaged goods. I'm the prize here. I'm the one on the magazines." "Let go." She tried to twist her arm free, but his grip was iron. Panic flared in her chest. Suddenly, a hand appeared on Liam's shoulder. It wasn't a friendly pat. It was a claw. She said, "Let go, Liam." Liam froze. He looked up. Yi Min was standing there. He hadn't made a sound. He was just there. His face was a mask of stone, but his eyes were burning with a cold blue fire that promised violence. Liam laughed nervously, loosening his grip but not letting go. "Jesus, Yi, you creep around like a ghost. We were just playing. Weren't we, Jess?" Yi Min didn't look at Liam. He looked at the red marks forming on Jessica's wrist. His jaw tightened, a muscle jumping in his cheek. He reached out and gently, so gently it made her heart ache, took her hand from Liam's grasp. He inspected the bruise, his thumb brushing over the skin as if to soothe it. Then he looked at his best friend. "She's not a toy, Liam. You don't play with her." Liam stepped back, holding up his hands in mock surrender, his smile returning, though it didn't reach his eyes. Okay, relax. I didn't mean anything by it. She's just intense. You know how I get." Yi Min turned his back on Liam, a sign of ultimate disrespect in their world. He looked at Jessica, blocking Liam from her view with his broad shoulders. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded, rubbing her wrist, trying to stop her hands from shaking. "I want to leave. Please." Yi Min placed a hand on the small of her back. He didn't grab her. He guided her. "Come, I'll drive you." As they walked toward the exit, Liam called out. "Fine, take her." They stopped. Liam was leaning against the table, pouring himself another drink, a twisted, ugly smile on his face. He lifted his wine glass in a mock toast. I'm not going to fight my brother over a girl. If she wants the darkness, let her have it. She's all yours, Yi. I'm happy for you. Really. I hope you two are very happy together. Yi Min didn't respond. He walked Jessica out into the cool night air, but Jessica felt a shiver run down her spine. She had turned back for just a second. She had seen Liam's eyes just before the doors swung shut. There was no happiness there. There was no friendship. There was only the cold, calculating look of a man who had just decided to burn the playground down because he couldn't have the swing. In the months that followed, Jessica learned what it meant to be loved by a dragon. It wasn't a fairy tale. Yi Min wasn't easy. He was moody, silent, and fiercely possessive, but his possession felt different from Liam. Liam wanted to own her like a trophy to display on a shelf, something to polish and show off. Yi Min wanted to hide her away, to keep her safe from the world, to wrap himself around her like a shield. He brought her into his world slowly, carefully. She saw the scars on his body, the map of a violent life written in ink on his skin. She traced the dragon on his neck while they lay in bed, the morning light filtering through the sheer curtains, and he told her stories of his childhood, the poverty, the fighting, the rise to power alongside Liam. He told her about the things he had done to survive, waiting for her to run. But she didn't run. She kissed his scars. He loves you, you know, Jessica whispered one night, her head resting on Yi Min's chest, listening to the steady thump of his heart. Liam, he's your best friend. Yi Min tightened his arm around her, staring up at the ceiling. Liam loves winning, Jessica. There is a difference. He loves the reflection of himself he sees in my loyalty. But things seemed peaceful on the surface. Liam played the part of the supportive friend perfectly. He came over for dinner at their penthouse. He joked with Yi Min, brought expensive wine, and treated Jessica with a respectful distance. He apologized for the restaurant incident, blaming the alcohol and stress. He was charming, funny, and safe. But he was a snake in the grass, waiting for the grass to grow tall enough to hide his strike. When Yi Min was in the bathroom, or taking a business call on the balcony, Liam would lean in close to Jessica. He's been stressed lately, Liam would whisper, looking concerned, his brow furrowed. Has he snapped at you yet? He has a temper, Jess, be careful. He gets bored easily. I've seen him with women before. Once the chase is over, once he's conquered, well, I'm always here if you need a shoulder. You know that, right? Jessica tried to ignore it. She tried to brush it off as Liam being protective, but the seeds were planted. She met Tia for lunch one afternoon, needing a reality check. He's being so nice, Jessica said, stirring her salad, unable to eat. Maybe I judged him too harshly. He's really trying to patch things up with Yi Min. He even offered to help with Yi Min's logistics issues. Tia frowned, lowering her sunglasses to look Jessica in the eye. Jess, listen to me. Ex-lovers don't become best friends that fast, and men with egos like Liam's don't lose gracefully. He's not being nice. He's gathering intel. He's watching. He's waiting for a crack in the foundation. Watch your back. Jessica should have listened. The fall happened fast. It was a cascade of disasters that felt orchestrated by fate, but were actually pulled by human hands. It started with small things. Shipments missing from Yi Min's company. High-value cargo vanishing into thin air. Accounts frozen by the bank for suspicious activity. Leaks to the press about his old connections to the underworld, stories that Yi Min had buried years ago suddenly resurfacing on the front pages. Yi Min grew more distant, more stressed. He stopped sleeping. He paced the penthouse at night, speaking in hushed, angry tones on the phone. He tried to shield Jessica from it, refusing to talk about business, but the tension in the house was suffocating. He came home late, smelling of smoke and exhaustion, his eyes wild. Liam was always there, offering help. I can talk to the regulators, Yi, he would say, sitting on their sofa, drinking their scotch. I can lend you the capital to cover the losses. Let me help. I have friends in the ministry. It was a masterclass in gaslighting. He was the arsonist handing out buckets of water. One rainy Tuesday evening, Jessica and Yi Min were having a quiet dinner in the penthouse. The mood was heavy. Yi Min had barely touched his food. He looked haggard, the shadows under his eyes dark bruises against his pale skin. I can fix this, he murmured, more to himself than her, rubbing his temples. I just need to find the leak. Someone inside is feeding them information. Someone close. Before Jessica could answer, Before she could reach out and take his hand, the front door exploded inward. It wasn't a knock, it was a battering ram. Police, tactical gear, shouting. Jessica screamed, dropping her glass. It shattered, red wine spraying across the white rug like blood. Men with assault rifles swarmed the living room, their boots muddying the pristine floors. Get on the ground, police. Yi Min didn't fight. He stood up slowly, putting his hands up, his eyes locking onto Jessica. He looked calm, but she saw the terror for her in his eyes. Stay calm, he told her, his voice steady over the screaming of the officers. Call the lawyer, don't say anything. Get on the ground. A officer screamed, kicking Yi Min's legs out from under him. They slammed his face into the floor. Jessica cried out, trying to run to him to stop them, but an officer grabbed her arm, holding her back. We found it, someone shouted from the study. The safe is open, we have the ledger. Yi Min frowned, his face pressed against the carpet. What ledger? I don't keep records in the house, I never have. But they dragged him up, hauling him to his feet. They cuffed his hands behind his back, the metal clicking shut with a sound of finality. As they hauled him toward the door, the elevator dinged. Liam walked in. He looked shocked. He looked devastated. He looked at the police, then at Yi Min, his mouth hanging open. What's going on? Liam asked, his voice filled with concern. Officer, this is a mistake. This is my partner. You can't just barge in here. Save it, sir, the lead officer said, brushing past him. We have evidence of money laundering, racketeering, and embezzlement. We have the physical ledger. Yi Min stopped struggling. He went completely still. He looked at Liam. He looked at his best friend, the man he had built a city with, the man he had trusted with his life, the man he had let into his home. Liam looked back. His face was a mask of worry for the police benefit. But then, as the officers shoved Yi Min forward, for just a fraction of a second, Liam looked directly at Yi Min. And he winked. It was subtle, a tiny twitch of the eyelid, a microscopic smirk, but it hit Yi Min with the force of a nuclear bomb. The missing shipments, the leaks, the frozen accounts, the evidence in the safe that Yi Min never used because he kept everything digital and encrypted. It was Liam. It had always been Liam. Yi Min roared, a sound of pure animalistic rage. He lunged at his friend, straining against the cuffs, but the officers dragged him back, tasers crackling. Liam, Yi Min screamed as they shoved him into the elevator. You traitor, I'll kill you, don't you touch her. Liam, don't you dare touch her. The doors closed, silencing his screams, leaving only the echo of his fury. The apartment was silent. The police had gone, taking the evidence and the man who lived there, leaving a wrecked home in their wake. The rain hammered against the windows, weeping for the ruin of the night. Jessica sat on the sofa, shivering, staring at the spot on the rug where the wine had spilled. It looked like a gunshot wound. She felt numb. It didn't make sense. Yi Min was careful. He was legitimate. He wouldn't keep incriminating evidence in the house. He protected her from everything. He wouldn't bring that danger to their doorstep. Footsteps approached, slow, deliberate footsteps. She looked up. Liam was there. He had stayed behind to handle the press and secure the apartment. He sat down next to her, close, too close. He put his arm around her shoulders, pulling her into his side. I'm so sorry, Jess, he murmured, stroking her hair. I tried to warn you. Warn me, Jessica whispered, her voice trembling, pulling away slightly. I told you he was dangerous, Liam said, his voice sad, reasonable. I told you he couldn't leave the life behind. He played us both, Jessica. He used my company to wash his dirty money. He used me, and he used you. Jessica shook her head, tears spilling over. No, he wouldn't, he loves me. Liam sighed, a sound of profound pity. He loves owning things, Jessica. You were just another asset to hide behind. Why do you think the evidence was here? He was setting you up to take the fall if he got caught. He was going to let you go to prison for him. No, Jessica sobbed, burying her face in her hands. Liam moved closer. He wrapped both arms around her now, trapping her against the cushions. His touch wasn't comforting anymore. It was heavy. It was a cage. SHH, it's okay, he whispered, his lips brushing her ear. I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you're safe. I'll make sure you're provided for. I need to call his lawyer, Jessica said, a sudden spike of panic piercing through her grief. She tried to stand up. Liam's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. The same wrist he had bruised months ago. He pulled her back down hard. No, you don't, he said. His voice had changed. The warmth was gone. The concern was gone. The mask had fallen, shattering on the floor along with the rest of her life. Jessica looked at him, really looked at him. His blue eyes were cold, flat, and triumphant. There was no sadness there, only victory. He's gone for a long time, Jessica, Liam said, a cruel, satisfied smile spreading across his face. Decades. He's never coming back, I made sure of that. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. You, she whispered, you did this, you framed him. Liam stood up, towering over her. He adjusted his cufflinks, looking around the penthouse like he was measuring it for new furniture, like he was already moving in. I did what I had to do, he said simply. He took everything from me, my spotlight, my credit, and then he took you. He thought he could just walk away with the best parts of my life. No. He leaned down, placing his hands on the arms of the chair, trapping her completely. He brought his face inches from hers. She could smell his expensive cologne, and beneath it, the rot of his soul. I saw you first, Jessica, he whispered, his eyes dark with a twisted, sick possession. He just borrowed you. He kept you warm for me, but the game is over now. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch lingering on her neck, sending a wave of revulsion through her body. Now, you're finally where you belong, mine. Jessica stared at him in horror, the realization crashing down on her like a tidal wave. The monster hadn't been the man with the dragon tattoo. The monster had been the man in the navy suit, smiling in the daylight. And now the doors were locked, the city was asleep, and she was alone in the dark with him. And just like that, the nice guy became the villain. Now Jessica is trapped with a monster who thinks he's one. But do you think Yi Min saw this coming? Let me know your theories in the comments. Part 2 drops soon, and let me tell you, the revenge will be sweeter than the betrayal. Don't go anywhere.